you know, when everything that was going on, I was experimenting with some red spray paint, and I just started doing these stripes, and it started to look like a flag to me, and so it just kind of, you know, coalesced into a little bit of a more of a political statement.
Alone and forsaken.
Mhm.
Yeah. And was that made just a couple months ago? Well, I guess completed.
Yeah,
A couple months ago.
yeah, totally.
So the paint's dry.
The paint is dry. I hope so. Let me see. Yeah, she's dry.
That's good. Yeah, I love seeing the new stuff. And then the rose piece is
Yeah, that.
another one from a few months ago.
Yeah, I mean, this is another one that's developed over time. And when I was in Berlin, I got to, you know, since I didn't go to art school, I never got to have those experiences of, you know, being in a class and drawing the model. You know, I was able to meet some people who were artists and you know, who were willing to, you know, they were all struggling artists. So I was like, well, if I pay you, will you guys model for me and stuff? And this one woman in particular, you know, she had a rose, and the Dirty Rose is the title. The Dirty Rose is a nickname for Berlin. It's called the Dirty Rose of Europe. So.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I mean, there's a lot of stories behind her. I mean, I'm not naming her, so I mean, I guess you can say, you know, I mean, it ended up that, you know, she was bipolar, and so we just kind of had this interesting connection. And I think sometimes people who are bipolar kind of, you know, attract each other and kind of like end up helping each other out. So
That's good.
It's beautiful.
what do you think, Alice? Should we?
Yeah, I think we can start. I mean, I think that everybody's here, and if somebody comes later, that's fine too. I'll just maybe stick it right here before we get the video halo here. Instantly. Okay, guys. Well, it's awesome to have you all here. Thanks for making it in Saturday night, no less. Jeez, yeah. Well, guys, welcome. Welcome to our second talk on the mental health in the Metaverse. I think it's a pretty important for everybody these days, overall. And I'm really happy that we're talking more about it. Chase is here with me, over here. Hi, Chase. And Jai. You guys are the same colors. And we're here with Jai's artwork. And so Chase, the composer, the wonderful composer and musician, and Jai, wonderful artist. What I want to start with is shares the video, and I don't know if you guys all got the chance to watch it yet, but I would like to start by prompting you guys to watch this 1 minute long video first. That's over there, and we'll kind of go from there.
Yeah, just remember, once you watch the video, to turn it off, you just walk away and then walk to the side. You know, shut it off. composer named Chase, and he did this incredible music for it. And so it's a nice way that we collaborated. Okay. Well, I was talking to the camera. This is Valley J2.
This is J2.
Cool.
It's my backup alley.
How do you do that? Is
I
Ali
don't have
J
enough balance.
recording?
No, it's yeah. Well, I'm gonna record on just my headset.
Oh, okay. So I was talking to nobody.
Well, you're rehearsing.
that happens to me sometimes. So.
Yeah. No, well, it's it's good. It's all our crowd here. We'll get that.
Yeah. Cool.
You guys all got to watch the video, right? So it's interesting that I believe all of you guys know that probably most of you at least well, maybe Ralph, if you wanna kind of switch over here.
Yeah, real quick. Hey, Ralph, are you new here?
Ralph is between Connecticut and Italy,
Cool.
right, Ralph?
Okay. Right on. Welcome, Ralph.
Thank you.
Ralph, if you have any problems navigating, just let us know.
Ralph's from the Smart Curators gallery.
Right. That's right. Cool.
Yeah, so great. So I was saying that basically the video that you just watched is a collaboration between Jai and Chase, and they met here in Arcade, and we kind of started working together on ideas of how to bring Chase's music and Jai's art, and it happened very natural, right? Because originally the Chase saw Jai's art, and it kind of stirred creative process, right? So a lot of beautiful things were born out of that, and they created this little piece. It's one of the things that they kind of did together, and I believe this is like one of the wonderful side effects of meeting here in Arcade, and how their art affected their respectful mediums that they work in, and there's a lot more that I know in works. And we are, hoping that it's going to be a show eventually. Basically, that our dream is to have a full-on show and the collaborations. It's interesting because, our psyche is very complex, as we know, right? It runs our life, and emotions kind of dictate how we are in the world. And what came up from our last discussion when we spoke about mental health back in November on the opening weekend is one of the things that Jai brought up is how he feels being an art gate in a virtual space versus being in front of the audience at a physical show. And it brought up a lot for me, a lot of thought that what we haven't really discussed is how safe virtual space truly is and what we all get out of being here and connecting this way. But I wanna prompt a couple of questions. You guys watched the little clip. What came up for you? And if you could just talk a little bit, like what came up for you, and what did you feel watching it? Anybody has something to say about that? Like any kind of emotion came up watching the little clip? Well, while you guys thinking, maybe Jai and Chase can just have a little exchange.
Sorry, on a personal level, I felt really, really proud, and that's coming on a personal level, just from being around since like all of you have come in here and meeting you individually and seeing these relationships and friendships um, and uh, and like all the work and collaboration. It's all come from this, from people meeting in the metaverse. It's really, that's always been a dream of mine, is to see these relationships grow and flourish regardless of borders and regardless of geographic location. And that was definitely a moment where it really just kind of it all came together there. There's Ali J's gallery, Jai's artwork, Chase's music, all just blending together in such a beautiful way. And it was a proud developer moment.
Well, absolutely. Rightfully so. So proud.
And I think it's amazing too because these things have these ripple effects. And Tiger Butterfly, who's writing the article about this whole museum and the event, I was fortunate to be interviewed by her, and she was talking about the benefits of ArtGate and VR. And so one of the things that I've done over the past 6 years, I coached adaptive rowing, so rowers with disabilities. And she had asked me, do you think it has a benefit for people with disabilities? And I told her that, well, I couldn't really answer for them, but let me call somebody and talk. So I talked to a friend and a rower who's in a wheelchair, and he was able to come into the museum, and yeah, he definitely felt that there's going to be some great benefits. But when you have a disability, sometimes that's the very first thing that people see and identify with. And whether that's they identify negatively or whether they, are self-righteous and feeling sorry for you, that's not necessarily what you want. So he was just kind of excited that, hey, here's a space, I can come in here. They don't know I'm in a wheelchair. They're going to hear me talk. And then there's also so many people who, who are like neurodivergent, who have invisible disabilities, but it might manifest in anxiety or, sometimes it does manifest physically. If you could see me, my knees always popping up and down. And a lot of people that kind of just, they tell me, oh, calm down or grab me. But, actually that's something that helps me focus. So, luckily, one of these days you're going to have legs on these things, and then you'll see my leg popping up and down. But for now, you can't see it, so you just get to hear me for my beautiful voice. So.
It is so true, though. And just the fact that we have not met in person, but we connect so easily and we have developed friendships. It says so much about how we truly connect, right? And how much the look really matters or not, right? Like that just gives you that perception is that what really matters in terms of connecting and sharing. And I think that really is something to think about because being here in Metaverse, you get absolutely fulfilling experience of sharing, ideas and thoughts with like-minded people, and you get completely, just happy. You feel happy. You feel fulfilled. You learn something constantly, right, from it, and you know, it's growing. Like the relationships grow from here, and we feel supported. And I think that's the whole goal of the community. And I mentioned Brendan will probably chime in with that. That the creating of this community, art is like it's just the medium that we connect through. But it's about connection at the end of the day.
I'm really still surprised that none of you have realized that I'm just an AI.
Wow, you're a good developer.
Is she real?
Dang.
Here too. She's also an AI.
Well, you guys do the job
Very
well.
nice.
We still love you, even if you're an AI. It's pretty awesome. And that's the thing. It's like we're sitting in our homes, and we can be anywhere, and that does not stop us from connecting. And that's kind of like the safety of this space is pretty amazing, right? What it gives us and what we can do with it, like from here. And that's why I wanted to start with this collaboration piece, just to show you guys, like. For a year, this kind of this dynamic has been developed, and I believe it's probably been a year close to you guys been knowing each other in Metaverse here, and you've been dancing, kind of vibing off each other's art, and it's like, yeah, you haven't met in person, so what? Like we have this now, we're gonna have more of it. Chase, would you speak to that a little bit? Like, what is it for you, the space here, and how do you feel sharing your music through Arcade, and how do you feel versus when performing in person?
Well, that's a very loaded question. I think there's so many factors. It's hard to pinpoint which one exactly to talk on. But the one thing I will say is, as if art and music is a form of therapy in of itself, having a place to show it for others to see is kind of affirming as the person. Like, if I can show someone or help or bring someone to feel, that is affirming, and in a way is therapeutic too. To show something so raw and have people maybe like it and not shy away, it makes you feel good. And I think that is a good, huge thing that can be offered in a way that might not be offered at the conventional gallery. This could be a lot more available to everyone around, anyone who has access to the internet and VR, and that's a really big thing for a human to put themselves out and receive validation. And I don't think it really matters too much in what form, but people are people, and when they're there in front of you, in whatever way, that's a huge thing. It's very healing, I think.
To keep that emotional freedom somewhat, that you are not constricted.
Chase, so how? I mean, because you only told me a little bit, but you kind of just emailed me out of nowhere, and we're like, hey, you know, what do you think of this music? Can you tell me the one that's in the video? Can you tell me how that came about? And
How the creation of the music came.
yeah,
Well, I think it was the ads that you've had for this space that Ali has had with Soul Portrait. That as soon as I saw the ad, I was like, that's the one I have to write music to. I didn't even question it really. It just like had to happen, and I just started improvising on piano, which has been my outlet all my life, and I'm realizing I shouldn't shy away from that as my main tool. So I use that, and then it kind of just, you take layers and put layers on top, and then you rip up the layers. It's very similar, I think, at least in the construction of the music. From what I've heard in your process, it's something that feels natural, at least when looking at your art the whole time, improvising to it. It's just kind of came out. At least the construction is very little edits in how it came together.
what's been cool? Oh yeah, should we go over there by that? Are we good here?
We can.
Okay.
We're fine here. Just
We need some.
Okay.
It's always good to exercise. And again, if the video starts, remember, just go up to it and then walk away. What's cool is that, Chase was at one of, I think maybe at the very first talk, and I didn't know who he was or anything, and he just kind of came up to me and started talking about my art and said he was a composer. And then I've been doing art for a book series called The Reckoning, and we're planning hopefully to have a show about all the art with the book here. And he saw one particular painting in the book, and said, wow, I really love this. And so he's been working on that. And then in between, just one night, he sent me and Ali J, he said, hey, I had this experiment I've always wanted to try. So I'm going to send you a piece of music, and I'm not going to tell you the name of it or what it's about, and then you interpret it. So he sent it. I put it in my headphones, stayed up all night, and sent the painting back the next morning. I said, Chase, that's a really amazing piece of music you wrote. And he said, well, actually, it wasn't me. It was this, other, famous composer. And I was like, wow. And I started to tell him about the painting. And then it ended up like completely locking in with what that guy had composed the music about. And it was more about, not trying to do something that was, going to make people, necessarily like that piece of music. It's more about challenging it and bringing out, the things that are wrong with you and bug you. And that was exactly what I was going through with that painting that night. I was just trying to work things out and stuff. So it was, so I mean, it's cool, just through this, like Chase I don't know if he realized it, but he's pushing me, you know, to become a better artist. And through, you know, doing that video, he's actually kind of been helping me get back into doing my film stuff, which I haven't done in quite some time, just because I got so burned out on it. So it's just really cool collaboration. So
I think there's inspiration all around, for sure.
Can any of you guys here speak to that, to the feeling of a safety being in virtual reality space? Like since you guys got to experience in arcade, do you have those kind of that feedback to share? Like what has it been for you? Like Danielle, I mean, I don't want to put you on the spot, but like you're showing galleries and physical spaces, right? You've been an artist for a while. Like when you started doing it in VR, how different was it for you? Did you feel a certain way?
Yeah, I think especially I started doing it during my first was in April of this year, so it was after being having life changed drastically with the pandemic. Going from I used to do an art walk every month in my city in New Hampshire, so I was used to having people come in and dialogue with me about my work on the regular, and then that went away completely. So having the opportunity to connect again with people in a very different way, but you're still getting that sense of having put all this time into a piece, getting the opportunity to be able to share that with people. I mean, for me, that is a big part of why I do what I do. So it was really nice to have that opportunity again. And now that I'm getting back into actually showing my work in real life too, I realize that it doesn't need to be one or the other. It's actually really nice to have both because we are limited by our graphic placement. And as much as I love travel and I try to get around, it's so much easier to just put a headset on, or just jump in on your laptop, which I am tonight because I have to charge my Oculus. But it's just it's really indescribable until you're in there, because I've been trying to explain to people who haven't done this before, and you really just have to do it yourself, I think, to get that feeling, and that community sense is real, even though we're all just floating heads.
Yeah, it's true.
I wouldn't mind sharing my perspective on that too, if that's okay with everybody.
don't ask. This is a free space.
So I'd like to just paint a bit of a picture of what is happening with Raven and I right now, where I'm on my 8th day of quarantine because I'm passing COVID, and Raven hasn't had it this whole time, but it's looking like she has it now. So she's gonna have to quarantine for 10 days following, from the day of symptoms following her positive test. But just based on what she's feeling, that we're quite feeling it's quite likely that she has it. So on an emotional level, we're stuck inside. Like we're physically not able to go and see people, because of the precautions we want to take to not spread it around to anybody else. And for me, I'm a very, very social person outside of the metaverse. I just really get a lot of energy and balance in my life just from being out and chatting with people and conversing and having a social life. My social life has changed so much since the pandemic. This is one of the few circumstances where I had to pull back from seeing people in person, and being able to open up the laptop and have a conversation with all of you and chat about art and look at art, and just to laugh and joke around and banter about wherever the conversations take us is so energizing in a time that like I can't imagine going through this without being able to throw on a headset or open up a laptop and get in a room with 10 of my good friends that are all interested in art. Um, it's been something that's been really helpful on a personal level, just to be able to connect with people. Um, and a lot of my social life around the art world, that was always tied to really big social events, like big gallery openings, big international art fairs, um, like big groups of people all the time. And since the pandemic happened, that for the most part stopped. So my immediate family and immediate geographically close like friends and social circle, they don't really talk about artwork as much as as much as I could. So I feel so lucky to have a way of connecting with all of you to scratch that creative itch and like to have some people that we can talk to about art. Um, yeah, this has been something that's been very helpful for me on a mental health level to have that outlet through all this. So yeah, I just want to say like thanks for all of you being involved and you know yeah.
Well, we're only here because you made it happen, you know? I mean, I have to mention that. So yeah, thanks for giving us this space, you know? You guys made it happen and absolutely agree with that. I mean, I'm sure everybody would too. It's like to have this outlet, that's where you forget that, you know, you are actually connecting everybody. Even if you're by yourself in the house, in the headset, you're connecting. And so, you know, this is very healing just to have this kind of meetings and conversations that you know, about some important topics and just feeling like, okay, we're not alone. And thank you for that. So it's both ways.
That's
You guys feel better,
I
by
think
the
we
way.
can all
Hopefully,
relate
go
on
through
that
that
level
quickly.
with having to shift lifestyles and find other ways to reach out of the room we might have to stay in. That was one of my big reasons into getting into Artgate was because I was very used to teaching a room full of people like multiple times a week and teaching like 25 private students like every week and then singing in front of hundreds of people every week. Like I was in front of hundreds of people every week, and then quarantine hit and suddenly it's like, well, this isn't fun.
Yeah.
I want to talk to people and like talk about art and I want to get outside of myself and hear other people talk about what they're passionate about. And I was so surprised in a way just to have found that the first day, which I think Jai's art talk was that first time I came to Artgate, and it was like just I think I'm gonna go back to that. That was cool. I met someone.
Right?
He was pretty cool. Ali was pretty cool. I should go back. And yeah, it's very funny. It's not the same, but it's different. And sometimes different doesn't have to be better or worse. It's just it's different and just as needed. Yeah, it's interesting.
Well, it's
So I
like, you know,
relate
the
a lot.
concept of not having a face. And that's I mean, like, psychologically, like I've pondered this concept, like in relationship with people, if we never saw each other, if you like in the imagine you're in the dark, connecting with somebody, talking, you never see their face, they never see yours, how different the relationship would be, right? And you realize you'd still connect the same way on those kind of shared values, or you know, like emotional kind of things that we connect with. So it's more distracting actually. So, and you know, people kind of cast judgment subconsciously, consciously, um, based on looks. And like here, we don't have any face, you know. And I think that's amazing because like it does not distract, and like Brendan said before, it doesn't distract from the artwork, and also it doesn't distract from connecting on all the right levels that we kind
And
of,
but
you know.
not just that, LJ. Um, there's something. Oh, so I'll give an example. So somebody recommended an artist filmmaker who had some similar experiences that I've had in terms of being sexually abused as a child, and pointed me to this amazing video of this interview of him talking to this to other people, and they start, and it's one of the most brave things I've ever seen. I can imagine
Was that
being in
Richie?
yes,
Yeah.
it was Richie. Yes, I didn't want to mention his name before you said anything, but I mean, I guess he's written a book so about his experience. So
Yeah.
Richie Vermeer, just absolutely incredible person and filmmaker.
He was trying to
And
get in here, but he couldn't
yeah,
get it.
and when I was watching it, when they got into the point where he's bravely talking about the actual times, they wanted him to be explicit. They cut back to one of the panels, and you could just see on his face, like his hand goes up, and it's just kind of like, okay, there it goes. He doesn't believe him. He's judging, and it was really just, I couldn't believe that he got through it, because it was almost like he was in court being indicted and stuff. So when you're in a situation like this in VR, when you just start to open up, as I've luckily have, then yeah, I can't see your reactions. I can't see that eye roll, that doubt, that that look of okay, what is this person for real? What's going on here? And that's just something that's very common, and that just goes to express why oftentimes children who are abused, exactly what happens. They say something if they're brave enough, but people don't believe them, or they just dismiss them, or they don't want to talk about it. And so when I saw that video, I thought that was just amazing. And again, being in here, it makes it a little bit easier to just talk and be open. So
And that creates a ripple effect, like you said, Jai. When you are
yeah,
brave and you have courage to share things that make even like other people get uncomfortable by just listening, right, to what you share, because it's like you can't help but feel it, and especially when you're in person, you don't know at times what to say, right? And it is challenging to just be genuine and kind of go into it just the way you do, and I think
yeah.
that creates that freedom, right, for others to
Absolutely, and it has rippled. I mean, I've had people who are either in events or just been in here or just seen the art or the ads contact me. This woman contacted me and said, hey, I have similar experiences. Would you be willing to talk? We ended up talking for like 3 hours at one point, and it was just great to share those experiences. And I ended up learning so much from her, because when you go through certain things, and we're all on some sort of spectrum. I mean, I don't think particularly, if I've gone through some trauma, I think everybody's gone through trauma. So trauma is trauma, and it's just on the spectrum. And so everybody has experiences, but there's maybe sometimes certain experiences that someone has that nobody else has. But then when you find that one person, and in this instance connected to the art, and and it was just incredible, and you all of a sudden you just feel like you're making that tribe and stuff. So
Yeah, and that's why the progress, right? Once you actually acknowledge where the trauma is, then you can start moving through it, and doing it in a safe space, wherever that is what you need, right? To just put it out and say this is what it is, and I'm sharing it, and you can start dealing with it at that point, right?
yeah, and forgive me if I ever interrupt. That's part of the ADHD. Your brain's spinning very fast, and I get these thoughts, and I know that I'm going to forget them in a second. So I'm sitting
No,
here
it's
going,
just
wait a second,
creative person you
the
are.
thought is going. The thought is going.
I think it's just an artist with you in you. That's all.
Yeah.
Yeah. Chase, what has been? Can you like share a little bit more on what it is for you these days, this VR space? Besides, you guys found this collaboration, and it's probably gonna be more, I'm sure, of that. But like, what do you get for your personal healing from this? If you could
Well,
share.
I had to go into therapy for many years to handle what I've been through, and talking about things openly is scary and healing at the same time. And the first time Jai and I were talking at his art talk, he had mentioned how art had been such a huge source of therapy, and after talking with him, I just couldn't let go of that idea. Like, well, I think music for me has been therapy, and I just never realized to the extent that it was and has always been my form of therapy. And it so happens it took someone to give it a different perspective that I really correlated with, I guess, and now it's like something I rely on in a new way, and it's been like more effective now that I'm opened up to it, and it all came from a virtual conversation. Believe it or not, it's like very funny. So it's a process, but it helps to have people, no matter where they are, to talk to.
Mhm. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Yeah, thank you for sharing. If anybody has any kind of thoughts, please don't be shy to jump in and kind of yeah share your thoughts on that.
Yes, maybe I can jump in.
Yeah.
So yeah, my name is Leonard. So yeah, thanks for having me. So for me, it has been also quite a journey discovering writing and art as healing, because in Italy at Casale Flamingo initially we hosted writers and artists in residence, and what I discovered is that writing is also therapy. So we had writers who wouldn't stay because they wanted to launch their next bestseller. It was just to write as a form of healing. And as part of our smart community, we also have a performance poet. And he would say that he went into poetry because he couldn't afford therapy. And so, yeah, so it's been, of course, then we were caught up with the pandemic. We had to shut down, we had to learn to adapt to the non-COVID protocol. So we launched a festival, international festival, digital festival. We wanted it to be a successful failure because we really didn't want to be digital. And but having now discovered Art Gate with Brendan and his team, and to me initially it was more like, oh, we need to find a platform to amplify the experience of the festival. So, but now I realize that this is a safe space, it's a community of artists co-creating, sharing, and so it's quite overwhelming to discover this platform. So yeah, so I'm looking forward to the journey, for us all to adapt. And but for sure, I do miss to go back to the physical aspect of running residencies for artists and writers. Where we laugh together, cook together, co-create together. But this is a really nice place, and I've actually only today I've got my new headset. I was in Italy. Supply chain.
All right, my niece needs my pizza.
Headset. It's the first time I'm actually in a room with
Put them in that.
Like what?
headset.
Somebody give this man a high five. I win.
Well, that's great.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing.
It's awesome. Yeah, thank you for sharing. Yeah, I think everybody needs this space. We were just chatting with Jen and Chase that like Brendan, we wanted to do like the regular get-togethers, and I think this is like a therapy group. And, like it's seriously, it's a very good habit to come here and share. And we were talking about okay stuff that we work on. It's good. It's kind of like a business meeting, but I think honestly on a personal level to discuss things that okay, what I was thinking about, what do we have, in our life that we're dealing with, and the more these relationships become, more friendships, and the more we can actually like talk like old friends, right? And like share stuff, and there's with not much limitation, like we would do in the physical world if we were closer geographically. Like we would probably hang out somewhere. We would probably get together in some pub or fireplace, and talk. And I can see how that could be like there used to be spaghetti social thing, like people get together on this monthly dinners and chat. And I think this is something that we could definitely all use. I mean, I know I could. So it's because there's so much an intersection of like art and life and music and whatever we do as hobbies besides art that's we could definitely share about.
Yeah.
Brendan, I don't know if Raven is there with you, but as I understand it, she's in education, and I'm wondering how you think that like VR is going to help out with education, and specifically, I'm thinking about children who have childhood developmental trauma, and are missing some pieces. How it might help them to like practice to integrate into a world and communicate without being judged.
I think it's pretty incredible, like the technology that we have and have access to. I think there's definitely some problematic like areas with access to Wi-Fi for a lot of people and students. Like I'm teaching in Nova Scotian school right now, and they have like decent access to Wi-Fi, but not a lot of access to like funding for like things like headsets and stuff like that. So I think it's definitely nice that like Arcade has like a laptop version available now. It's becoming more accessible. And I think it can do a lot for students to be able to connect virtually, and like especially for students living in today, like they've grown up with technology, and it's created like an outlet, like not even just platforms like this, but like platforms like Instagram and TikTok has given a lot of students a voice. Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting. So, although, like, you think of Instagram, everybody's trying to show off mostly in Instagram, right? And create this idealistic version of themselves. Like, that's what you see with influencers, and, versus like here, we're kind of equalized, right?
Yeah.
And,
I do see though. Yeah, sorry, not to cut you off there, Ali, but there is like a lot of positive spaces that are created through platforms like TikTok and Instagram that I'm seeing now too. Just like I was mentioning, like giving someone a voice. There's a lot of like even just like content and knowledge out there that like I'm learning about, like Indigenous issues and cultural issues, and like I think that it gives a lot of people access to knowledge, and there is definitely that side of it too, where everything looks like it's just like glorified almost, but I don't know. I think there's a whole bunch of different like.
Oh yeah, no, for sure. I mean, there's definitely different sides, and yeah, the access to information on different topics. Yeah, it all depends how we use every medium that we have. That's I'm not sure I agree with that. And all of this is kind of complementary.
Yeah.
Through Instagram, I mean, that's how we like. I've learned about arcade through Instagram in the first place. So that side, I'm not gonna argue. Of course, it's all kind of how you use it. That's true.
Yeah. Yeah, I think Arcade's definitely wonderful that it like breaks down that barrier that you were talking about, like with not like passing any like judgment when you're having a conversation. Like I know most of you by your voices, not what you look like.
That's a good thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's interesting though, like how you could form a relationship without even knowing like what someone looks like. And I recognize
Yeah, very
it.
much so. Yeah, I was telling Jai that like I spoke to Jeff today briefly. Jeff introduced us, and we're gonna definitely have him here at some point and share his books
Jeff,
and we'll
Jeff's
share
the author of the
knowledge.
Jeffrey
Yeah, the
Pierce.
author
He's
of
the
the
author of the books
book.
that I'm working on.
So it's just like so many aspects to how much like, and again the way to he's on the East Coast, not that far from Jai, right, but Northern California, and erasing borders and getting together here is invaluable. Like to me, it's
Yeah.
like I don't see how I could ever meet Jai otherwise or
Yeah.
his art in the
When
space.
would we ever be all in the space together?
Absolutely. So for that, it's like, and things that we are like growing from and through, and I mean, there's just so much change happening. And even over the couple years, right? That's this community been growing, and I mean, I guess it's much more than that, Brandon. I realize, but I think it's like almost, was it gonna be almost 2 years, right? In April, that kind of been active since I'm counting training from international Artgate International, the first time kind of, and it's like so much change, right? Like so much. There's been so much growth, and all of you guys probably have your own stories about that, but it's a lot of it is thanks to being in this space also and shifting that perspective, right? Or how we can still do what we do using virtual space and still have progress.
And I think it's important too to keep that balance as well, because like I view what is happening with the metaverse as like it's one way that we can connect with each other and with certain artworks, but it's not. It isn't the only way, right? Like I'm like counting down the days when I can go back to gallery openings. Like we used to go gallery hopping every Thursday, or the first Thursday of each month, and you would just go from one gallery to the next, the next, the next, with a group of a few hundred people, all just kind of floating between these galleries to check out the newest exhibitions that opened up, and it was so much fun. And I'm looking forward to that stuff happening again. I'm looking forward to flying out to international fairs and like Ralph, like I would love to go by and pop by your residency and say hello to some people and meet up with you, John, in person. And so like right now, this is a really great way where we can stay together. But I look at it as it's just like one way of us all getting together and connecting. In the same way that there's drawing, there's painting, there's photography. It's not like photography came and now it's the only way that you make art. This is here, and it's not the only way we connect with each other in our work. So it's nice to have this as an outlet, and when things are kind of opened up again, I'm looking forward to flying around the world and meeting you all beyond the avatar.
We were joking how long it would take us to go on a trip and visit everybody.
Yeah, Arcade World Tour.
Well, it was fun too. Missing the hugs, I think that's for sure. Like, okay, you can't get that when they come
Yeah.
to, the technology would allow to actually feel when you hug somebody. But yeah, I mean, hey, we're making the best out of it.
I was thinking about that. Like, if I met you in person, Ali or Chai or any of you for that matter, like we have these relationships and these friendships that have gone that are so that developed so much. I know if I were to get off a flight and see one of you, I would just give you a big hug. And it's just like seeing a friend that I haven't seen for years. It would be a very surreal experience, I'm sure. But I'm looking forward to that.
No, for sure. I think that's gonna happen. I'm sure, and in not that distant future, but absolutely share the feeling. Yeah.
I'd be interested to know where everybody is and
Sorry, can you repeat that?
She was asking like geographically where people are.
Yeah.
Yeah, but where are you coming in from? Did it?
I'm in New Hampshire.
Oh, wow. I'm from Southern California.
Cool.
Yeah, Chase is in San Diego, right? Kind of, I would say. Because San Diego County, that's
I have one foot in Europe and one foot now in America. So I'm currently in Connecticut, still jet lag.
Oh,
Home has been home for me for 10 years now.
Wow.
The residence, as I mentioned earlier, is outside home in Spoleto, which is a cultural city predating home.
Wow.
It's quite vibrant and very, so if you get a chance, yes. I think that the great, what I love about this space is that we can connect, so that we can then also, as Benjamin was saying, help each other in a physical space. And in our case, that would be you guys coming to visit us in Spoleto for the rest of the week.
Let's do it. We'll do an arcade community meetup in Italy.
We should have the yearly conferences in different places around the world. That's what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Appreciate the invite.
Yeah.
We could have
You all heard it here first.
reality.
So I'm based just outside of DC, and one thing that I had forgot to do at the beginning. So I have a music background. I used to play in a ska band back in the day, and there was this band called Bad Brains, and they would do these shows, and half the audience would just end up on the stage sharing the microphone. Like nobody really had control. It was like this big joining and melding of the crowd and the band. It's just, and so, that was kind of what I was hoping would happen tonight. Is that I would shut up for a second, and then people would just kind of take over. So it's been really amazing hearing from everybody, and I hope people felt like they could just speak freely, because it's really amazing to hear from people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And now I'll pass the mic to Brandon.
Well, where are you joining us from, Jack?
I'm just outside of Washington, D.C. I'm in Arlington, Virginia.
Nice.
So I'm normally north of Toronto in Canada, but I'm on the east coast of Canada, province called Nova Scotia, visiting with Raven as she's finishing up the tail end of her teacher's college, her education program. So we're both in Nova Scotia together, Canada.
That's cool. Well, I'm in Orange County, California, Newport Beach. So first conference is gonna be here. Most of the year we have a pretty nice weather. So it's been chilly. It's been a little chilly lately, but then my kids are screaming in the background, so don't mind that. Chilly. Okay. I suppose in the Celsius or Fahrenheit you prefer. Well, in Fahrenheit it's been like in upper 50s during the day, and it's like 39 at night in Fahrenheit, so that's cold. In Celsius, it's probably, what is it, like 5 degrees Celsius probably at nighttime, and during the day maybe 15. So it's pretty cool. Well, it's winter, Usually it's like the average is 20 degrees. The average like yearly,
like a cool summer
25
night.
or so. Yeah.
You want to hear a really bad joke?
Complainers.
You want to hear a bad joke? So Canada's kilometers, right? So do they call Miles Davis Kilometer Davis in Canada?
Ooh, yeah, well, yeah. The only Americans.
I have not heard that one, and I've heard a lot of music puns, so I really appreciate that one.
Oh boy.
Have you ever heard a Canadian say thank you in Italian? No. They say Gretzky instead of Gretzky. Like Wayne Gretzky. Gretzky.
Nice.
You need to know the hockey player reference, right?
Oh my gosh. Well, it's so fun, guys. See, that's what we're about, to like laugh together.
Yeah.
Yeah. Zachary, do you want to say where you're from? Where?
I'm from Ottawa. Well, actually, I'm from Windsor, but I'm living in Ottawa right now. It's south of Toronto, and Ottawa's north of Toronto. Um, yeah, been here about a year.
Mhm.
Nice.
Cool.
Cool.
That's quite an eclectic
Awesome.
mix. I think we
Yeah,
have
we'll
like
have a good
quite a big array of distance between everyone. That's cool.
Yeah. Do you
Well-
hey Brendan, like you like to do? Could we get a picture all of us together?
Yeah, sure.
Do you?
And-
you guys?
Let's make the Artgate meetup in the real world take place in Italy. Let's take you up
Yes.
on that, Rob.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you
I'm-
say?
I'll be there.
I'm very relevant for Meta Biennale. Yeah. For Biennale, yeah. We can then also go and visit Venice.
I love that. That would be wonderful.
All right. So who wants to take the picture? Zachary, do you
How about I
mind?
take one and then I switch with one of you guys.
Yeah, and then Zachary, do you mind taking a screenshot, and then I'll take a screenshot as well. I'm on my laptop, so it looks pretty good.
I don't know how to
I
take a
took
screenshot
I took a
on the
candid
Mac.
earlier.
Yeah, I've taken a couple as well.
Did I look okay? Or
Yeah.
Smile. Cheese.
hopefully I wasn't blinking? Yeah.
Yeah, smile, everybody. Okay,
Hold on. I'm part of the Illuminati, so I need to do this.
Trying to move around.
Represent.
okay, everybody smile. There you go. And it is messaged in Discord if anybody wants to see it now.
Brendan, I actually smiled.
I know. I can't help myself. I always smile, even though.
You guys are awesome.
Zachary, do you mind taking a screenshot as well?
I don't know how to take a screenshot on a Mac.
Oh no. Okay.
I think it's Command Shift 4.
Control
Okay.
F4.
Control Alt 4. What just happened? It just went black.
That was what.
All right.
Exactly.
Oh, it's back. Yeah, everything's open.
Yeah, and let's do the small guys, okay? Let's just bug each other on Discord or Instagram and like.
I don't know what the. Oh, now everyone's gone. Shit. All right. Well, I guess I'm done.